I go in the village. Where have I come from right now? So I'm from the village. I go to the village and I see the suffering in the village. This NHIF thing is a fraud. It doesn't help anybody. It only helps somebody like me. Oh. Maybe. If I go somewhere, MRI, I'll get. Last time I went, they didn't give me. I don't know why they changed or something. The reason why we went to Somalia were very flimsy reasons. Some tourists was, I don't know, attacked under circumstances that can make me want to cry and hate being a Kenyan.
But they say love your neighbors, love yourself.
No, yeah, we love them, but they have to take care of themselves. Ask yourself, what is a national park doing in town? The only one in the world, in a city. The only one. Animals roaming here. When I say these people say Manyora is not blah blah, they are stupid. Who says if you remove these animals here, they will die? They can be taken elsewhere. How can human beings be staying in Kibra, Kawangware, when these animals are roaming 29,000 acres of land?
President Uhuru Kenyatta has slightly over 200 days left in office to execute that which his administration committed to undertake with regards to revitalizing the Kenyan economy and making sure it is a notch higher than the rest in the continent of Africa. Now, this far, what economic fronts and concerns should he address with utmost urgency today, if not yesterday? And as always, my name is Richard Mwenja, son of the soil. Truly honored that you've joined us on this edition of Business Glide. And now to delve into this conversation, allow me to bring on board Kenya's most sought-after political analyst and strategist, doubling up as a renowned public scholar in Eastern and Central Africa, one with a true spirit of a warrior, the very man, Herman Manyora. Sir, welcome on set.
Thank you, Richard.
All right, you're glowing in a red tie.
Yeah.
I mean, are you going to Seychelles for Valentine's?
I think so.
Really?
Yeah.
You must be a big man in this society.
Of course. You thought I was small?
But you've always played the humble pie.
Yeah. Humble but not small.
I see.
Simple but not cheap.
All right, sir. Let's begin from a general standpoint. We are taking stock of President Uhuru's achievement this far and what he needs to address before he exits office. And he has slightly over 200 days left. Now, President Uhuru Kenyatta the other day asked all under the Jubilee arm to go actively into the ground and go into politics. But at the same time, he has criticized DP and his team that kazi inafanyiwa ofisini si juu ya magari. Isn't this a case of double speak?
No. What he meant was between 2017 after elections and like a time like now, we were supposed to work. And now, you started working from 2017, politicking from 2017. This is the time for politics. You should be starting now. Look.
Really?
Yeah, that's what he meant. It doesn't need any interpretation. He said, now it is time for politics. Let's go do politics now.
All right.
Yeah, you started way too early.
All right. So should we write off that which he had committed to undertake now that it's now active politics time?
How do you write off? Things have been done. The rest can be done autopilot.
Really?
Yes.
All right. Let's talk about the issue of political sabotage with regards to balanced regional development. We are still grappling with the issue whereby your political affiliation or you going to bed with the sitting administration determines how much of achievement and development will be channeled to your constituency or county. Does this speak of a failed democracy?
Well, let us put it this way. We have come from a past where everything was decided from State House in terms of development. Days of roadside declaration. The president passes somewhere and he says this road should be made. We have long now been into this issue of budgeting. So things are budgeted for. You can't just pronounce and make roadside declarations. And therefore, if that were to happen, it will be bad. However, never lose sight of the fact that politics is about distribution of resources. You get it? About distribution of resources. So that when the resources are distributed, when I was high school, we were doing allocation of industry. And there were factors to consider before you allocate an industry in a particular place. The truth is, however, once economists have come with a list of where to do things, politics may alter them, a few of them. Because politics is superior to anything, it's superior to all these other things.
Okay.
Yeah, so politicians struggle to get power so that they are in charge of distributing resources. And whether it is the most advanced democracy or the least democratic state, politics will play a role in the allocation of resources.
All right.
Yeah.
Barely 3 weeks ago, we saw European embassies signal that there could be possibility of terror attacks in Kenya targeting Western nationals frequent in several places in our country. Do you see that this is an issue President Uhuru Kenyatta needs to address with utmost urgency if investor attraction is anything to go by?
I think this terrorism is a global problem. It's not a Kenyan problem. Sometimes we even get hit over matters that don't concern us. For example, the classic example is 1998 bombing.
Yeah,
It had nothing to do with Kenya and Tanzania, but we bore the brunt of that. It's an international thing. And we've been hit severally. We've suffered. But while that is the case, it must also be appreciated that the government has done a lot. And that were it not the case that it has done a lot, we would have seen worse. So, yes, this is an international, global problem. Kenya has received its share, bad share, of course. We have done our best. We continue to do our best, and we urge the government to continue doing its best, because really, if a country is not safe for people, then foreigners and investors will not come. But let us not say we want to be safe because of foreigners. No, they better go away. We want to be safe as Kenyans, and then foreigners can benefit from that.
Okay.
When we are safe ourselves, the country is safe for us. Even foreigners will be safe. But to say we want to make foreigners safe here, that's a wrong way of looking at it.
Let's advance the security conversation and look at we've seen rampant calls that Kenya retrieves its troops from Somalia. Perhaps we are seeing incessant terror attacks here and there in Kenya. From what standpoint do you view all that?
I've always maintained Kenya has no business being in Somalia. No, we have no business. That has been my stand all along. In fact, nobody can convince me there was a reason for going to Somalia. There wasn't a reason.
We only need to beef up our security at the boundaries.
You take care of your country, take care of your borders.
But they say
the reason why we went to Somalia were very flimsy reasons. Some tourists was, I don't know, attacked, and under circumstances that can make me want to cry and hate being a Kenyan.
But they say love your neighbors, love yourself.
No, yeah, we love them, but they have to take care of themselves.
All right.
Yeah. If there's a failed state around us, we can take it over if you want to take over. Yeah.
All right. A section criticizing Uhuru's coca this far, saying that Uhuru has witnessed and probably made leeway for people to make away with economic crimes. We've seen grand corruption gone under charge in this very same country. The KEMSA scandal was on board, the Arore and Kimwarer board. Will you say that President Uhuru Kenyatta has fallen short the glory in the fight against corruption, and it's an issue he needs to address in the about 200 days left?
There are just two things to say. Number one, if we don't take care of corruption, theft of public debt, this country will collapse. That's number one. Number two, we must be honest with ourselves and say this government, like any other since independence, has done little to fight corruption. But it must be understood within the context of what happens in this country. We are in a country where political leaders are one and at the same time business leaders. So since you cannot separate the business leaders from political leaders, then it will be very hard to fight corruption because they are one and the same people.
Sticking to your context, President Uhuru Kenyatta some years back was the one who said ukishiku umeiba mali ya serikali sasa hakuna kupiga simu kutoka juu, but clearly it's still going, it's still happening.
We don't have the will to fight corruption. And I'm telling you the reason is most of our leaders are involved in the same. How do you then expect them? There's a man called PLO Lumumba. When he was head of the anti-corruption body, EACC, I don't know whether it was then or not, he targeted parliament for false mileage and said, I'm coming after you. They sacked him.
All right.
The same people. You want to streamline, and the people you are talking about and flagging out are the same people who have the power to fire you. So then how can you fight corruption?
All right. Well, sir, you'll agree with me that a healthy nation is a wealthy nation at it. And let's advance this conversation and talk about the health sector. You've seen us make incredible achievements in the sector as well as some huge disappointments while at it. NHIF 56 years later is still having issues in there. We've seen situations that cancer patients in Kenya are going through. And also shortage in, say, condoms and shortage in HIV drugs are still happening in this time and age. Would you say that universal health coverage hasn't achieved to a bigger chunk what it was committed to in the first place?
We must always give credit first where it is due. And while at it, we must therefore say Kenya of today and Kenya of 60 years ago are different in matters health. Child mortality is gone down. Maternal child health efforts are high.
Malaria prevalence.
We are handling that. Cancer treatment is no longer that you must go to South Africa or India. It's done here. The dialysis that we used to hear, people even go out and then later for many years it was only in Nairobi. Now you can do it right up to level 4 hospital, and there are many in this country. So there's so much that has been achieved. However, I still strongly believe the NHIF approach is the wrong approach. Because NHIF is a business and it's a fraud. I have said this so many times, including with our show, with you in some show. I told you, NHIF is a fraud. You get what I'm saying? What we need to do is to offer Kenyans free health care. Free. Quality, free health care. Walk into any government hospital, get treated and go home. These issues of cards, NHIF, that's rubbish. We don't need that.
But we've done with NHIF for 56
We don't.
years.
That is a fraud. It has never worked.
I see.
It doesn't. Me, I go in the village. Where have I come from right now? So I'm from the village. I go to the village and I see the suffering in the village. This NHIF thing is a fraud. It doesn't help anybody. It only helps somebody like me. Oh. Maybe. If I go somewhere, MRI, I will get. Last time I went, they didn't give me. I don't know why. They changed or something.
All right, sir.
Yeah.
A recent report showed that at least 4 out of every 10 Kenyans is unable to pay rent in Kenya. And at least a third of Kenyan population has defaulted on their rent since the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic. Would you say the Kenyan government under President Uhuru's stewardship undertook the affordable housing commitment? This far, what's the scorecard with regards to fulfilling this agenda out of 10?
Again, like NHIF and the UHS, they got it wrong. By a wide margin. You see, when you want to solve a problem, you go for the basics. If you have such a serious problem like housing, you go for the low-hanging fruits first. Pluck them. Get rid of hunger. Then when you are strong, you can go for the bigger issues.
Yeah, landlessness.
You get it? So if you want to do housing in Nairobi, for example, and this is, I think, the only town with a major housing problem, what you do is you go to the law, apply the law. Nobody buys land in Nairobi. Land is supposed to be allocated and you develop. If you don't develop, you don't sell. You revert it reverts to the allocating authority. Implement that. Secondly, identify all idle lands, parcels of land within Nairobi and the environs like Tengela and Ngong. There are so many idle plots. Find out what they are doing there. Why are these plots idle? You are holding for
speculation purposes.
Yeah. It's not speculation. There's a word. Is this speculation? No, there's a word. I've forgotten. You are. What is the word in English?
Hoarding.
No. You hold land for
future gains and that.
A word sounds like speculation. I've forgotten it.
All right.
We want to identify all idle land in places like Ngong, Kitengela, and around Nairobi and even within Nairobi. Find out these empty parcels of land. What are they doing? Whose are they?
Majority were gazetted as conservancies.
Yeah, no, I'm saying idle ones. You go plots. There are many, you'll be shocked. Find out their status. Make sure they are fully exploited and developed.
All right.
Number two, if you want to solve the housing problem in Nairobi, provide land. Kenyans are entrepreneurial, I'm telling you. Kenyans can, if you provide Kenyans with land and the plans and service to land, sewage, roads, provision for schools, and just provide that land and tell Kenyans, you can only build a house using this plan. And the maximum rent here will be this. you'll be shocked. So if you are in Nairobi, look for the land.
All right.
Ask yourself, what is a national park doing in town? The only one in the world, in a city. The only one. Animals roaming here. When I say these people say Manyora is not blah blah, they are
Conservation.
stupid. Who says if you remove these animals here, they will die? They can be taken elsewhere. How can human beings be staying in Kibra, Kawangware, when these animals are roaming 29,000 acres of land? This forest here, the rich people took a bit of it, Langata, those housing. We made noise a bit. They said they were going. The rich are still sitting there. Those houses. You remember they were around Langata?
Yeah.
On Southern Bypass. The rich are still there. They took part of the forest. Why can't you annex the remaining part, which is a pretense? Trees have been felled inside. They only leave the outside to give the impression of a forest. There's no forest there.
But Keriako Tobiko was so loud on the issue.
There's nothing. So annex that land, all of it, and develop it for housing. Put there services and let people build houses there.
All right.
If you are going towards Thika, you'll find people growing pineapples. And people are staying in Kiandutu. People growing trees in town, and people are staying in Kiandutu. That's kind of third world stupidity. Once you do that, you can now begin to think of big ideas, which is take a rail line to empty lands on your way to Maimayo. And develop housing estates there with electric train running up to there. There will be no housing problem in Nairobi. But the way it was conceived is wrong.
All right. Is it time ripe enough for President Uhuru's administration to go low on, say, road infrastructure and channel a huge budgetary allocation now towards other social welfare fronts, say now addressing cheap education and cheap healthcare at it?
It's a question of balancing. We still need roads. We don't have roads. We need roads, more and more roads. We need to open up the country. There are farmers in this country who can't take their produce to the market because of bad roads when it rains. We need more roads, but we need to balance between social spending and capital spending.
All right.
You know, we need to look at social development, capital development. We also need to look at the cost. Once you take care of the cost of these roads, this exaggerated cost, theft, corruption, there will be enough money to do those other things like education and health.
All right. Yeah. A potential threat to entrepreneurial culture in Kenya has been the ongoing extrajudicial killings. And you've seen what has been happening in the River Yala massacre, menace that's happening all over the country. Would you say that this is an issue that needs to be addressed with utmost urgency, and that President Uhuru Kenyatta has to ensure all agencies, security agencies, are in place and the judiciary is also transparent enough so that potential investors don't back out of coming to Kenya, and also businessmen?
Killing people and taking them to a river is a 17th century thing. You cannot be doing that in the 21st century. How? I expect government to explain this. Government should have gone full blast into investigation. They should have told us what is happening. I mean, in the 21st century, in a country as well developed as Kenya.
Especially on an election year in here.
How can you find bodies in rivers dumped? That's unacceptable, unbelievable actually.
You are a political analyst. What's the correlation between now?
I am not an expert in that line.
Really?
I know it can be done by government. It can be business rivalry. You know, I have seen many times people are found dead, killed, nothing is taken from them. People will imagine it is a government. It's not always a government.
Right.
Sometimes it is your business partner. Sometimes it's somebody you have swindled. Sometimes even somebody's wife you have taken. And somebody can kill you. But we need to come up with quick, speedy investigations to allay the fears, especially because the blame is pointed at the government. And the same government is not investigating.
Absolutely.
It should move with speed to tell people, you can see this has nothing to do with us because this was done by so-and-so. We have the evidence.
Absolutely.
Correct.
Well, an elder has spoken. That's why we wrap up our conversation today on Business Glide, touching on areas of concerns with regards to the economy that President Uhuru Kenyatta should address in the last about 200 days that he has in office to ensure that his manifesto has been fulfilled to substantial levels. Before I leave, our fan of the week is Mary Gitau from Denmark.
Mary Gitau from Denmark. Scandinavian countries. The Nordic. We are very happy that you are with us. Continue being with us and encourage others to be with us also.
Well, at that point, I switch off my mic. Yours is on. Do engage with us on our social media platforms. I'm at Mwenja Richard on Twitter, at Manyora on Twitter as well. And also subscribe to our channel at Herman Manyora on YouTube. Remember, this conversation goes on beyond here. Share with us your feedback and also areas that you want us to address in the near future. Make sure you are glued to our subsequent editions that come to you every Tuesday and Thursday. And at this point, up next on your screen is the Business Glide African Proverb of the Day.